The lenses right here. I'm Dave, and there's Tom. And here, play.
Welcome to Retired Time Productions.
Okay, so here we are back with the Twin Star. And one viewer asked me, "What's our vector, Victor?" Well, it's right down here. That was from the airplane movie in 1980. I don't know how many of you even remember that, but I hate to admit that I do remember it. So I've almost got this done, ready to put the cover on, put the two halves together. One thing I did was I extended out these little stubby cables that come with a vector. See, the vector wires only come out about an inch or two, so I had to extend 3 of them here and put some little servo lead extenders in there. So I had to do that, and I've also added my second wire here for my UHF so I can get to the USB port easy. And more importantly, I've decided where to put the airspeed sensor. Now the airspeed sensor I decided to mount on this half of the fuselage, and I got it mounted right here. It's near this access door. And I've got the cable coming right up here where it can conveniently plug into the GPS module on the bus there. And then I've got the tubes going down here to the Pitot tube. And there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of head scratching on where to put the Pitot tube. I decided not to put it on the wing because I just didn't want another wire from the wing that I had to connect up. So what I did was I put it out here. I don't know if you can see that, but on a boom. It's on a tongue depressor sticking out the side of the plane right there in the front. And it's far enough forward where it's in front of the propellers, so it shouldn't pick up any prop wash. The front edge of the wing is right here. So that's where the wing root is, or front edge of the wing is right there. And then the props come out to about the back of the tube here. And so I got all that sticking out in front of the props. Then it goes back to the module where the two readings are subtracted from each other to just get the wind pressure. And then it goes on to the vector through the GPS, through the bus. And here's the GPS over here, and of course it has 2 little plugs. One's already plugged in, and the other one is for the wire from the air pressure sensor, and then that runs down to the vector here. So these are my battery choices for the Twin Star. One is the 4004 cell right here, a Zippy 4004 cell. And this is one that I just got. It's a Zippy 5003 cell. So just for kicks, let's find out how much they weigh. So here's the scale right here. And let's turn it on. And it's sitting on grams. Okay, let's put the 4004 cell on there. And we got 450 grams. Okay, keep that in mind. We'll put the 5003 cell on. And we got 420 grams, or 21 grams. So, what's the difference? About 30 grams. Not a lot. So I think either one of these will work just fine. I don't really need 4 cells now because I decided to have a separate video battery. Originally I wanted to get over the 12 volts, like have 16 volts so that if the battery got down low it'd still be above the 12 volts on the regulators that produce the voltages. But since I'm not using those anymore and I've got a video battery, a separate video battery, I could easily go back to a 3 cell, so that's probably what I'm going to do. Some viewers have recommended that. So 420 grams versus 451 grams. Okay, I'm making a hole here in the video pod where I can screw the pod down. I don't trust magnets too much, so I want something more to secure it when it's on the plane. And I've cut a little piece of this vinyl siding. There's the vinyl siding right there. And I'm going to take this little piece of vinyl siding and glue it right here and then drill that hole through. Okay, got it gluing with some clamps on there and some welder's glue. Okay, I'm going to fasten the pod down with one of these pronged T-nuts that I got from the hardware store, and this is an 832 by 1/4. Has the prongs on it there, as I said. And then I'm going to take a wing nut and an 832 bolt right there and fasten those together with a little of this red Loctite. So I'll put a little Loctite on the threads right there and then screw this down. So there it is right there, and I'm just going to mount the T-nut onto a piece of wood in the nose of the plane, and I'll screw this down in through the pod to hold it. And so this is the basic idea. There's a hole right in front here on the pod, and this bolt will hold the pod on, and it goes through there just like that. Little piece of wood. Next I'm going to spray my board camera, which is a Security Camera 2000 FEO wide dynamic range camera right here. Nice of them to give me that to test, and I'm just going to go ahead and use it, and I'm going to spray it with Plasti-Dip. Now the first thing you have to do before you spray it is make sure your two cables are plugged in, your video line and your menu cable, because you don't want to get Plasti-Dip down in those sockets. The other sockets don't matter because they're not used. So presto, there we have 3 coats of Plasti-Dip. Looking pretty good. I found one little place here where it kind of missed it, and I can see a little green from the circuit board, but no big deal. I don't think there are any components right there. And it just come out pretty good. Everything's sealed up. So it really is water resistant, not waterproof, of course. Someone's mentioned that, but I think for my purposes it's well protected. On a recommendation from one of my viewers, I purchased one of these 433 megahertz semi-rigid dipole antennas, and I got it from Get FPV. So I'm going to install that and hook this SMA cable here to my EzUHF receiver, 43 megahertz, and I'll be removing the old antenna, or the stock antenna that came with it. So I've got the new SMA cable installed right here, going through the foam. What I did was I took one of these long drill bits, it's about the same size as the connector, and then just hand drilled it slowly up through the foam, right through the vertical stabilizer. So now I've got the SMA cable pushed through and sticking out here. So I have the connector glued in there now, and there's the dipole screwed onto it. Now I'll probably go ahead and cut out some foam here so I can embed this into the tail section here. You can see I've cut out a little place there, and then I've run the wires up through the vertical stabilizer. So there's one end, and then I've actually got the ground end down here. The shield side is down here, poking out through here. I used this piece of I think it's GWS control rod that's got a threaded end on it to poke the holes through. So there it is. Well, I think it's time to glue the two halves together, and I'm going to use silicone glue. Now I know silicone glue is not the best glue for this foam. It will peel off, but what I'm going to do is, to give it extra strength, I'm going to go ahead and rough up the foam with some sandpaper to remove some of the mold release material on here. It makes it kind of shiny looking, and if you rough it up, it takes that mold release material off, makes the foam a little rough, and the silicone glue sticks pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to use silicone glue, and later I may laminate this with some New Stuff laminating film that Dick Gibson suggested that I use. So if I put the laminating film over it, it's never going to come apart unless I cut it loose. I just got to make sure my airspeed sensor wire is out there. I got it held on with a pin so that when I put the two halves together, it'll be sticking out where I can plug it into the GPS. And yep, everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and sand these surfaces on both sides and then glue it. So I've applied a bead of silicone glue everywhere, I think you can see it on all of these surfaces. So the surfaces were sanded first, and then the glue was applied. And I'm going to use some of this painter's tape to hold the body together while it's drying. And maybe some clamps. Okay, there it is, glued and drying with silicone glue. And I've got painter's tape wrapped around it in several places. And on the back here I have a clamp to clamp the fuselage together. So here is the fuselage all glued together. It came out pretty good. And underneath I've also added a little piece of vinyl siding and a Velcro strap right there. I carved just a little well to put the vinyl siding in, and the strap goes around here to hold the battery in. So just to run down again, the dipole antenna is running right down through here, and there's the cable for it. Here is the GPS module for the vector right here. Inside here we have the EzUHF receiver inside this compartment, and then inside this compartment is the Eagle Tree vector itself right here. And then the airspeed sensor is mounted here. The video transmitter is here. And then we have the Mobius camera and the FEO board camera on this pan tilt. Now around the back side we don't have much, just basically this hatch here, which is where we can place the video battery right in there. And I'm going to have some Velcro on these pieces of wood. The light down here a little bit. So I'll put some Velcro right here for the battery to stick to in there. Well, I've got the Twin Star up on the CG machine again, and I'm going to go ahead and control it with the radio here as a test with the 3S Lipo in there. It's a 5000 3S Lipo right in this area. So we can try the various things. Let's try the pan tilt first. If you can see it, it's right up there. So there's the pan. And here's the tilt. And we have throttle right here. And then we have ailerons. There's the ailerons right there. And elevator. That's way in the back. I don't know if you can see that. And the rudder, which is also visible back there. Okay, so everything's working. Oh, I can see the motor over there though. That is right there. That's where the prop would be. So I would be able to see the prop. That'd be kind of cool. So if there's enough light, like if it was outside, you could see the color. But if I turn this off, of course, what do we see? Not much. And now you see it's gone to night vision sort of, so you can't see the color anymore. Do this, it'll come back, get enough light, there it goes. But I think it did pretty well as far as the dynamic range, because that's right into the light and then away. So it looks like it'll hold up pretty good. That's that FEO camera from Security Camera 2000. Now in closing, I'll just get your opinion on a couple of items here that I might do. One is I have this low profile circular polarized antenna here for my 1.3 gigahertz transmitter. Now I might just put that here in place of this rubber duck, or I could put it out on the end of the wing with a cable. Run it out there. So that's something to think about. The other thing is I have this belly pan that I could put on the bottom of the plane for a skid. It's just molded to fit the bottom of the plane and protects it. So I might put that on there for a landing skid. And the third thing is I could go ahead and wrap the fuselage and the wing with some of this new stuff, laminating film from Aloft Hobbies. And I think this is the 1.7 or 1.7 version of it, very thin, and you put it on with an iron. So those are just 3 things to think about. And you all can let me know what you think about those items.
Here, light.